Hey everybody, this is Jeremiah Craig, and I got some cowboy boot news for you today regarding Tecovas that's really interesting, so let's get into it. Alright guys, I actually had another video planned for today, but then this news dropped of Tecovas boot brand targeting $200 million in gross sales, and they added a new CEO. So I wanted to try to cover it quickly because it's a pretty big deal for the industry, and I also have another video coming up in a couple of weeks that sort of touches on this as well, and how maybe some of my ideas in that video are just complete null and void now. I'm still going to release it because I still think it's valuable. But regardless, let's take a look at this news coming from Modern Retail. Cowboy boot brand Tecovas targets $200 million in gross sales as it adds a new CEO. So Paul Hedrick with the nice mustache is out. He's out. So the new CEO is David Lafitte, coming from Deckers. He was the chief operating officer there, and we'll talk more about Deckers in a minute because that's really interesting. But Hedrick isn't gone from Tecovas. He's actually going to be the executive chairman now, which is a pretty big deal. Executive chairman, that's a nice title to add to a resume, right? Once you're the executive chairman, I think you could pretty much get any job you want. So that's congrats to him. Tecovas is shooting for $200 million in revenue this year, after growing more than 70% last year. So Tecovas is making money hand over fist, and they're trying to do more and make even more money. And in order to reach that goal, the article says that Tecovas will open 15 new stores in the next 18 months. And the article goes on to say that most of those stores will be in the Southeast and the Southwest, with a big part of their goal becoming a nationally known brand, which I already thought they were. I mean, I was wearing boots just last weekend, and somebody came up to me and said, "Hey, are those Tecovas?" They were Chiso's boots, so they weren't Tecovas, but Tecovas is on people's minds as the cowboy boot that people just wear. So if you're wearing cowboy boots and somebody doesn't wear cowboy boots, they might automatically think that you're wearing Tecovas. So that's a good place for Tecovas brand to be. I think that they've already reached that goal, to be honest, but maybe they're talking more of the mainstream folks. They also said in this article that they're looking to release more apparel for both men and women because most people aren't buying multiple boots. I mean, I know there are several of you out there who are Tecovas fans and have several different pairs of Tecovas, but most of the time it seems like people are buying one pair of Tecovas and then that's it. So they want to release more apparel like jeans, shirts, trucker jackets, the article says, and also apparel for women, which they don't have right now, which I imagine will be a nice little payday for them once they release that. Another really interesting point that this article makes before we get into who the CEO is that they are inferring that Tecovas is going after Boot Barn by getting into that apparel, because Boot Barn is one of the biggest players in that space, making $1.5 billion in sales last year. So you can kind of understand or sort of envision where Tecovas is going. If you look at Boot Barn, it seems like Tecovas is shooting for that type of business, that type of brand, if not just a little bit different. Of course, Tecovas will be its own brand, but they're shooting for that sort of scale, which is really big, of course. So let's get into who the new CEO is. The new CEO is David Lafitte, and I wanted to look him up to see what his background was, to sort of see where Tecovas might be going from here. So let's pull up David Lafitte's background. Okay, so here's the Decker Brands C-suite management page, and here's David Lafitte. As you can see, he seems pretty good for this role, sort of being a advising and consulting person. But what is Deckers? You guys know what Deckers is? I had no idea what Deckers was. What's the Deckers brands? So I wanted to find out. I just clicked on the homepage. Turns out Deckers owns UGGs. They own UGGs, which, wow, if you want to talk about a popular brand, there it is. UGGs all the way. There they are. So the COO of Deckers Brands, one of their biggest companies being UGGs, is now the CEO of Tecovas. And you can kind of see where this is going, maybe a little bit. So if we were to guess what Tecovas' next move was going to be, since they're so big into marketing and so focused on advertising and PR to get their name out there, I was curious to see what UGGs did in the past to get popular, because UGGs got huge, especially when I was in high school in the early 2000s. Every girl needed UGGs, right? Every girl. So you know what happened in the early 2000s to make UGGs so popular? They were worn by the Winter Olympics women's team. So once that happened, then they were worn by more and more celebrities. They started getting out in pop culture a lot more, which made, of course, all the young girls interested in purchasing UGGs. And that's why they got so popular, whether you love UGGs or hate them. I am more on the hate them side of things, but that's just me. It was really interesting to hear that UGGs got popular because of some of the Olympic teams wearing their footwear, because I remembered that Tecovas also had a little bit of activity in the Olympics back in 2020. Here we go. Yes, they had Tara wear Tecovas boots back when the Olympics ended. Look at her pose with those Tecovas boots, and I can only expect there to be more of this from Tecovas in the future. So if you guys were kind of getting sick of Tecovas advertising, kind of getting sick of seeing them everywhere, get ready, because they are going to be even more saturated in the content that you see every single day. And if you like Tecovas, that's awesome, right? You're going to want to see Tecovas everywhere. So I think this is good. I think this is good because if we have a brand that's used to getting footwear out in pop culture, right? That's UGGs. That's David Lafitte is his name. David Lafitte has this experience from working at UGGs, getting the brand out there into pop culture, making footwear more available and more interesting to more people in the mainstream, just in pop culture. So if that means Cowboy boots gets out there more, that's really cool. I'm all for it. I think that Tecovas could also benefit from doing a little bit more, particularly in sizing. Like, I think they should offer more widths. For one, I think that they should maybe make a little bit more content, I know they partner with some podcasts and things like that, but I wish they would do their own podcasts. I wish they would do their own regular YouTube channel by offering things that aren't just like their commercials all the time. And I know that they've done some of those videos in the past, but I also know that they're really insecure about putting themselves out there in a way that's different other than what is with advertising, right? And that just comes with the big corporations. That's why I left big corporation marketing, is because it's got to go through this approval process. And then by the time the content goes through the approval process, it is practically soulless. So I left and started my own content here, and I love it. So I think that Tecovas could benefit from doing something similar to what I do, especially for branding and legacy. And all of you Tecovas fans, I'm sure you would love it. I would love it. I would love to see more from Tecovas. on just regular content and not just advertising. Like, here's boots, here's shirts, here's jackets, here's hats, here's this, here's that. Just give me a little bit something else. That's what I want to see from them. And you guys will see that in a video that's coming up here. I'll expand a little bit more on that in the future. But I found it very interesting that they are basically shooting for the stars here. And they also said in that article that they won't be doing anything internationally for the foreseeable future. Not until all of the lower 48 states here in the United States knows their name. Everybody, even your great grandpa, even, little Jimmy, your nephew, your 3-year-old nephew, even little Jimmy, the 3-year-old nephew, knows about Tecovas. So that's what we got to wait for all you guys in Canada who want to get Tecovas. You got to wait for, little Jimmy, nephew, who's 3 years old, to know about Tecovas. And then David Lafitte might think about letting you guys have Tecovas up there in Canada. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Oh, there's actually one more thing that I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about how this affects Lucchese, because Lucchese has kind of been backpedaling for a little bit because of what Tecovas has been doing in the industry. Tecovas has really put Lucchese on their heels a little bit. And it became really prevalent when I was at the Western and English Sales Association trade show, and I was talking to a few of the retailers there, and they were saying that Lucchese is kind of keeping the made in the USA boots for themselves and opening up their own stores, just like Tecovas is. So the only way that you can get made in the USA Lucchese's now is directly from Lucchese. Lucchese will still, sell boots to those retailers, but they're the made in Mexico ones. They're the special bootmaker line. You can't get the made in the USA Lucchese's in stores anymore, or at least you can't get new made in the USA Lucchese boots in stores, because Lucchese wants them for themselves so they can directly compete with Tecovas through their own stores and through their own website. Lucchese even hires people from Tecovas. They recently hired one of Tecovas' old chief marketing officers, or director of marketing. So they're trying to get some of what Tecovas is doing into what now Lucchese is doing. So Tecovas is completely changing the industry. And whether it's for the good or for the bad, well, it depends on what side of things you're on. The retailers, the regular mom and pop boot stores, they don't like it. They don't like it because they can't get Lucchese's anymore, the ones that they've had forever, right? But you guys at home, maybe that's good, because you can get the boots shipped right to your door. You can go to a Lucchese store and have an awesome experience, just like you can go to a Tecovas store and have an awesome experience. So there's good and bads with all of this. And like I was leading into before, I remembered that I wanted to talk about that. I want to know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this little news clip here about Tecovas and the new CEO, and the fact that they're trying to make $200 million in revenue this year with their sights set on Boot Barn, who makes $1.5 billion. So we'll see what happens. It certainly is a very interesting time in the cowboy boot and Western wear industry for sure. And I'm happy to be here for it, and I'm happy that you are too. Peace, everybody. Have a good one. Tecovas and Uggs come together with hugs. Try to make the Tecovas brand the best in all the land. Yeah. Why don't you check out this video up here about where Tecovas boots are made. Or I got a music video down here I think you might enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe up here, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Peace. Have a good one.